We shall now talk about Saudi Arabia itself and why it's a good idea or maybe not a good idea. But it's been like 36 minutes in. We've not even really talked about it too much. But as we mentioned before, the stock has been up since January 5th. That was $70.94, and today it's $88.97. So do you, no, I've already asked all that. So Entertainment Weekly speculate that WWE might sell for around $8.5 billion.
That's where I read that.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Entertainment Weekly has suggested that figure, although I think it's just a suggestion on their part. If there is a sale pending, then the announcement should be made quite soon because they've got to make it right with investors, and they've got to make all this stuff public as soon as possible. Anyway, I wrote down a list of people that McMahon could sell to. Do you want me to do Saudi Arabia first, or should we go through the rest of them first?
And who predicted Saudi Arabia?
I didn't predict Saudi Arabia at all. You
Really?
said you did about a month ago, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
but Saudi Arabia, go ahead.
Well, I'll throw out some other ones that were named over the last month or 2 or 3 or 2 years, whatever. The Rock and Nick Khan and a bunch of investors, that would have been a pretty good idea. Media conglomerates like Viacom, Disney, Comcast, etc. And the reason for that is because they'd save themselves, if nothing else, at least $465 million a year in rights fees by owning the company outright and have to pay it. Over-the-top subscription services like Netflix, NBC Universal, who own Peacock and USA Network, Prime, Hulu, etc. Endeavor, who own UFC, and is essentially as close as a business model as you can sort of get to WWE, I suppose, at this point. And the only other major investors in WWE are hedge fund managers and, have got a lot of stock in the company. So we will go to Saudi Arabia, and as I've written here, morally dubious McMahon selling to morally dubious Saudi Arabia. $620 billion in the investment pots. And why do you think it's a good idea to sell to Saudi, or maybe why do you think it's a bad idea?
Well, the good idea is because they have the money. And the next thing is they're a willing buyer. I've covered it before because WWE is they're already on the radar in Saudi Arabia. I don't think Saudi Arabia chose WWE to come in, what was 5-6 years ago?
2018 or something, yeah.
Okay. I don't think they invited them to come in just for no reason, because they want to upgrade their society to resemble more of the Western part of the world. And they want, some of their cities over there are just magnificent, especially where is Dubai? Dubai, is that a country?
United Arab Emirates. No, it is Riyadh. Riyadh, I think, is the capital of Saudi Arabia.
What is Dubai?
It's a great question. My missus used to work there, and I still don't know if it's a country or a city.
What the hell? But I read Dubai. Anyway, they're familiar with Saudi Arabia. We've discovered this. The Saudi Arabians are familiar with them.
Dubai is a popular city in the United Arab Emirates. There we go.
Okay, so... But they have the money and they already know WWE. The bad thing is, and I've been reading online because you're gonna get all kind of opinions online, is that a lot of fans don't like it because they consider WWE to be a uniquely American product. Turning it over to another country that would have input into the content of the show, they're not really buying that so much. But I'm not reading that too much, but I am reading it quite frequently. But I think the fans is one of the lesser things you can consider, because you can win fans back if you make them mad, piss them off. It's the advertisers who may not want to join forces with this Saudi Arabian government because of their past human rights violations, because of killing that journalist Khashoggi in Turkey, in the embassy, in a Saudi embassy in Istanbul or wherever it was. Maybe a lot of people didn't hear that, but it made worldwide news. Plus, the government was involved. Of course, the Saudi Arabian government, denied all our responsibility into that happening. And they have put those guys in jail in Saudi Arabia. Now, whether that was a rogue event, I don't know, but still, it gives Saudi Arabia a bad rap. Plus, the way they treat women, not and the treatment of women in Saudi Arabia has gotten better. But the new, what is he? The new, not the president. What's his name?
The Crown Prince.
I mean, what? The Crown Prince. He wants to make Saudi Arabia more like a Western society, and this would be a good way to do it. See, since they bought that golf tour, put them on the map, but the golf tour hasn't been able to sell advertisers yet.
Even worse, they've not been able to get a TV deal anywhere, because obviously the PGA's got a foothold in every country in the world. And I'll give you an example of Live Golf. This won't mean I presume you're not a golf fan. I actually am. They've got Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Henrik Stenson, Paul Casey, Lee Westwood. Loads of big names they've lured over with huge money offers. So you've got loads of star quality names out there. They've apparently changed the golf game somehow to speed it up slightly. Bigger prize funds, and yet no country in the world will touch it and broadcast it. So if that's the case for golf,
what will be the case for what will be the case for WWE? And that's why we do the podcast, to bring these points out so our listeners are up to date. And hey, just because Saudi Arabia is leading the race to buy WWE, it doesn't mean that it's a done deal. I keep reading, it's not a done deal. And of course not. I mean, you don't just swap billions of dollars around without having 10,000 attorneys present, and they're going to dot every I and cross every T and make sure everything is where it should be. And I think even if they do agree in principle to buy WWE, I don't think it will become official for at least a year. Would it take them that long, you think?
For a company that big, yeah, it could well do. All that due diligence and everything. It's a costly, expensive, drawn-out procedure to get the lawyers as paid as much as possible. Do you think advertising will suffer, or maybe some of the companies that WWE works with, like Mattel, who make all their toys?
Hard to say. I'm not in the advertising business, so all I can offer is conjecture. And it's according to the product that, if it does sell, it's according to the product that WWE is putting out at the time. See, I don't know how much if it's Saudi controlled, will they say we're not going to touch creative? Because WWE does a lot of, USA military shows. And I don't know if the government of Saudi Arabia would agree to that. See, there's a lot of things that need to be taken into account here before a final deal is done. But let's go back to where we were 30 minutes ago. Vince is not going anywhere. Vince is still going to be there in that company, and he's going to get rid of all the people that he doesn't like, and he's going to fill it up with more people that are loyal to him and loyal to the company, and he'll just refill it up. Which brings me to another subject. Some of the talent have vocally said that they wouldn't go to Saudi Arabia, namely Sami Zayn and namely Kevin Owens, I guess because of his allegiance with Sami, I guess. And I never quite understood what Sami did. Is it something to do with the Syrians? He's Syrian, correct?
Yeah, he's of Syrian descent. And I tried to look this up as well, and it's very confusing. I know in the Syrian civil war that Saudi Arabia was providing weapons to the rebels, and I don't know if that's a problem for Sami or Sami's a problem for them in that sense. I genuinely don't know.